All right. Welcome back, listeners, to the Nice to Meet You podcast. This is your host, your girl, Lynette. This is season 1, episode 16. I hope you all had the time to check out my last episode, episode 15, entitled Race in America with Desmond Price. He's the host of the Independent Thought podcast. It was like one of the best, if not the best, interviews I have done so far. So the conversation was about race, about the recent shootings of Black people. We also had a conversation about the NBA boycott. You do not want to miss that episode. So today, like I said, this is season 1, episode 16, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Yamen Jackson. We go all the way back to the halls of the best high school in St. Louis, Gateway. He is a hardworking man who owns his own business. He has a son, and he is now a resident of Australia. Join in with me as I welcome Yamen to the Nice to Meet You podcast. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, permanent resident over here in Australia.
So how is it over there?
I'm not permanent, but I've just got a status permanent. That's all. It's good. I mean, it's a little different, quite a bit of an adjustment. Over here, we just broke spring. The weather's we're opposite. So we just broke spring. We just came through wintertime. So yeah, it's a little different. We're 15 hours ahead. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning here, Saturday. Well, actually 1 o'clock in the morning Sunday. So yeah, a little different, but definitely eye opener.
How was it? Because I don't know how you did you know about how it was going like over here in the U.S. with that, like the pandemic? Did y'all like totally shut down?
We didn't shut down in the front half. We adjusted it first, and then we shut down. So right now we've been shut down for about 6 months now. But we did go to stage 4, where now curfews, we can't go no further than 5 kilometers away from the house.
Wow.
It's mandatory mask in public. If not, it's a fine, or curfew is a fine, also $5,000 fine. So yeah, but
Go ahead.
That's in Victoria. I'm in Victoria. So the other states like Western Australia and Queensland and other states, they're not shut down, but Victoria, they were having some cases increases, so they shut down in stage 4. Tomorrow, actually, the premier, which is like the governor, is supposed to be making an update or an announcement about how we're moving forward, because it's supposed to be expiring soon. So we will see. Fingers crossed. They had a protest today.
Okay. Yeah. It's I will say the U.S. is iffy. We have some states doing this, and so St. Louis is like they have mandated masks, and people wear them. Sometimes they wear them, sometimes they don't. So it seems like I have it on lock. So hopefully we get ourselves together so the kids can get back to school and we can get back to normal somewhat. And so, all right. So can you tell the listeners a little bit more about Yamen? Like we want to know, like you said, Gateway. Like we came from the halls of Gateway, and we want to know. 01.
Yeah.
01. Can you tell them a little bit about you and a little bit about your business, and why did you choose the industry?
Well, yeah, of course we went to Gateway together. I'm class 02, you 01, and that's like the St. Louis question of what high school you went to.
Yes.
Yeah, Gateway Tech is the one. Yeah. But yeah, my businesses, I actually have 2. One is YAJ Enterprises, it's LLC, and I also have Blackstone Music Group. So the YAJ Enterprises is focused on business structuring, helping people structure their business, how to obtain an LLC, kind of consulting on what entities are, a little bit of business credit, DUNS number, and stuff like that. And that mainly industry with that, and I also do, some business management as well. So I help other brands kind of become privy as a brand, pretty much, build brand. So been working with that for about formed it in 2015. Prior to that, I had little bit of business experience, but that was the first time that I really took it serious and kind of collected everything I knew and really moved forward with that. And so that's that industry. With that YAJ Enterprise, I dipped in a little bit of clothing industry also. We have a brand, Early Birdz
Okay, I see
Apparel.
you.
So it's pretty popular in St. Louis. Um, Demographic is 18 to 24 though. But unisex clothing. Got a women's line on the way as well. So that's what clothing industry and Blackstone Music Group is also. I mean, obviously it's music. So trying to figure out this music industry.
Okay.
It's fascinating, but doing my research, I used to do music when I was younger. Now I'm on the executive side. So yeah, that's what it's about. And then about me, of course, I graduated Gateway. Then I went to Missouri Tech. I studied electronic engineering. So work in a technical field. I guess I used to work for AT&T, the network integration or prem technician role that I did. But learned a lot. I was able to get out in the corporate world. Prior to that, I worked in U.S. Bank. And so, yeah, a little bit about me. I just grew up west side of St. Louis. Yeah, from down the way, and had to make my way out. And here I am, way on the other side of the world.
I see. Have you
Okay.
always wanted to have your own business?
Yes, and well, actually, when did it hit me? It started hitting me when where we come from. We have to kind of, not that I had examples in front of me, but I kind of stumbled across, the idea like, what's a business and stuff like that. I think the first example that I had was my aunt. She used to do hair, and she had her own business. She ran out of her basement, and she had her own salon over in Baden. So that's where it really came from. And then when I got into the corporate world, spent a lot of time, working, and realized that the most important thing is not the money, it's the time. So God started placing people in my life. I was stumbling across a lot of people I could pick their brain, and they just inspired me uh, to push forward and capture my time, and yeah, it was important. And once I realized that, that's when I pushed forward with it and got the courage really, because it's you to walk away or to step away from careers is pretty. You got to build up a lot of courage. You have to step out on faith and step out on your own and say, you know what, I'm gonna get it. Got to. So that's where we come from.
I'm glad you said that because recently I left my job after being there for 13 years. And like you said, you got to have courage. And so you might have people that are question because you may have mastered, getting yourself to a certain point, establishing yourself. And when you take that leap, some people are like, you had it good. Like, what made you leave that? And so you gotta have faith. You gotta have courage. I'm glad that you said that. And are you happier now that you did that?
Oh man, that's the best decision I ever made in my life. Because not only when I walked away from one of the best careers that I had was paying me the most money, AT&T was. It took me about a year to build the courage to walk away from it. Not only to walk away from it, but I picked up and moved. Also, I moved from St. Louis to Texas. So it was a huge step. And when I got down to Texas, kind of adjusted, and then I started doing Uber. And Uber gave me that first taste where I was like, whoa, what is this? Because keep in mind, I've been working since I was like 14, got into corporate America early, um, worked at U.S. Bank, and actually grew up in the corporate environment. I told people I went in sagging my jeans and shook and stuff and came out in slacks and polo because I worked my way up to management. And yeah, it took a lot of courage. And yeah, it was big.
Okay. So what are some of the things you have learned about running a business that you didn't know? So you first started out, you may not have knew these things. And so what did you learn since first starting out? That's the first thing. And also, how are you putting yourself into the position to continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within the industry?
Um, Things I learned. So So what's the first part of the question? I
So
was
like,
thinking like this.
so when you first started out, business is new. This is a new thing to you. And so what do you know now that you didn't know when you first started out?
Oh yeah, okay. No, what I was saying. Um, that when I first started a business, I was thinking, I was like, one, you hear people say, well, you're going to work for yourself harder than you would for anybody else. And then it kind of crossed my brain. I was like, well, it depends on what lane you choose. Now, if you choose a restaurant where you want to be the chef, yeah, you're going to probably bust your butt. Like, or if you want to do a HVAC position and you doing all the work, yeah, you gonna work hard, So I had to choose the lane I wanted to choose the lane. I ain't have to. I wanted to choose the lane where uh, I wasn't trying to be, like I said, capture my time, but be less engaged. And not trying to move away from working hard and just start busting my butt. So I started choosing lanes where I'm like, what can I do virtual? How can I delegate tasks?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and to keep me going and keep me learning. I just keep studying and keep learning. I walked into a lot of mentors along the way that just solidified a lot of stuff that I was learning. Just like I said, we come from where we come from, and not many examples around us in our community, especially in our household, where you really have to literally stumble across information. And also, one thing, you got to be curious.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have any curiosity, you will not move forward with stuff. You don't ask questions. I'm like, or don't be satisfied with not knowing. Like,
Hmm.
wait, how do I do it? So that's why that's how I'm kind of keeping it moving forward, because I keep learning and also taking in the experiences I'm getting from the positions I'm stepping myself into.
So
So
it sounds like you're being humble. Like you don't think that you've arrived. You're always wanting to know more and more, right?
mhm, for sure, I have not arrived, because the bigger issue or the bigger goal is setting up my family. It's about the babies, learning about trust, and generational wealth and how you build it up. As a matter of fact, not only how you build up or have money, how do you really transition or pass it on, where the government is not involved and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, that's why I haven't arrived, because I still got family members not only that haven't positioned financially, but uh, mentally, I haven't passed enough information down, because I just happen to be walking different paths. I know that they haven't, and probably won't. So to me, whereas what was a term that I coined from Jay Morris, and he said, "I'm trying to be the CEO of my family." Real
Okay.
talk. Be
I
one of
see
them,
you.
at least. Me and my sister, we own it.
I see you got the early birds. Is that how did you come up? Is that kind of like how you're speaking? Is that like the early bird catches the worm? And how did you come up with that title?
Well, well, it's really my nephew's brand. So, but I had a clothing line back in the day. So he watched me as a little. He probably won't give me the credit, but I'm like, I know you've seen me do it. So yeah. So I had a clothing line back in the day where it was a Sentence to Life, where I took the STL, and it was Sentence to a Life in STL in St. Louis. That's where it came from. So it's really his idea. I helped him form a brand, and I helped him establish a relationship, with the vendor, and how to talk size, and how to talk material, how to talk, kind of bring your idea to life. So yeah, and that's where it comes from. It's ambitious people. For the ambitious person that's willing to do what they have to do to secure the bag. You notice the early bird, swooping down, because people wake up in the morning, they go to work, and they get the money though, not the worm. But yeah, but early bird get the worm. And that's where it comes from. That's all.
So is there any like business? I know like Tyler Perry. When I was listening to you, Tyler Perry is like a billionaire right now, and he took some stage plays, and like look like where he is. And are there any like anybody in the industry like you look up to, like you're trying to
Um,
aspire to, maybe be like them one day?
well, it's not necessarily walk. Yeah, kind of walk in a path, but recently I did just acknowledge one person. I'm like, you know what, this dude right here, I've been following his career and kind of impact by listening to him speak, and be surprised. It's the guy Rick Ross.
Okay.
Rick Ross, from you know in Miami, did this music thing, but yeah, he's always talked in such high frequency where, he kind of brought what he was envisioning and brought it together. And like, he inspired me a lot. And I also have a mentor also that I ran into when I moved down to Texas. He's in real estate and he's in finance, and he's taught me a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to business, because he managed a big business himself, and black guy, and a lot of stuff he taught me kind of put a lot of stuff in perspective for me, especially where I'm coming from and where I was trying to go. He was like, "You remind me, we the same sign." His birthday like a few days before mine. We both Aquarius. He was like, "Man, you remind me of myself when I was younger." And I was like, "Oh, wow," and we clicked. There's the thing. So,
What's the biggest thing he taught you? Like what is the thought that stays in your head? Like, you always hear him saying this.
it's funny. So just being able to pay attention and listen and execute, um, and no overthink, because a lot of times there be reasons, unfortunately, when it comes to our community. There's a reason why people don't do business with us. It's one of the things they always say. It's like, that's why they don't do business with us, because we don't tend to focus in and stay consistent and stay grounded with what we're trying to do. If you notice, a lot of black businesses, sometimes one day is good, but then the next day we out of something. It's like, and then everybody got excuses. Then how our community reacts to, like, man, that's why I don't want to do business with nobody anyway.
Yeah.
Because we tend to drop the ball, but he's always talked about just staying consistent. And
Consistency is key.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I know, like with my podcast, I have to be consistent. Like, I have to be consistent every day. Like I said, I'm going to drop an episode on Sunday. I need to drop the episode on Sunday. It don't need to be on Saturday or any other day of the week, because how are you going to get anybody to follow you and you're not a person of your word? You have to be a person of your word for people to follow you. And so, just thinking about business, and sometimes we don't like to talk about our failures, but sometimes our failures is what make us who we are. So what is one of your biggest failures that you've had since you started your business? Why did that failure happen, and what did you learn from it?
It was the one thing he kept saying, being consistent. And one of the things that we did with this brand, like, it became successful, and we wasn't consistent, and it was hand in hand. It was me and my nephew and my sister kind of trying to be consistent, but yet I always was talking as a team. I was like, hey, we are uncharted territory. You're stepping into uncharted territory when you talk about success and not being able to be around it when you grow up. You don't have subconscious memories of this. We don't know what to do when we had money coming in. And it's like, whoa, then supply and demand is like, it was a good place to be in when we had more demand than supply. But yet, we wasn't prepared for the next season, though. Like, what? Oh, we missed the ball. Like, hold on, we dropped the ball. So it was consistency, the failure. That's what it was. And now we've gotten a lot better, tightened up. We can prepare for this fall season coming up. We got some clothing coming in. That was one of the biggest lessons, consistent. And but you just got to keep pushing, because one thing is, once you do step out and say, hey, I'm out of business and I'm doing this business, it may not feel like it, but people watching. Not that it matters, but people still looking. And the more you pop up and they look up and wow, you still doing it. Like, yeah, I told you that's what I said I was gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm committed,
So kind of like with me, I can get discouraged starting my podcast if 10 people listen. And if I get discouraged off of 10 people, I have to keep going, because everybody started somewhere. And you can't do things based off numbers, because it's like you started somewhere, and so you got a goal in mind where you're trying to be. And you don't just wake up out the bed and roll over and all of a sudden everything works. And so anything I feel like worth having, you have to work at it. And so I'm sure you all had times where you were discouraged and you wanted to give up. And I'm like, man, this ain't even worth it. Have there been times that you thought about just let's just throw in the towel? Have you ever thought about things like that?
Not me, but my team. I have to, bro, what are we doing? Like, you forgot? Like, what's the next design? What's the next one? Don't worry about that. All right, don't worry about that. Because you catch, well, my nephew young, of course, he obviously younger than me, but he was kind of into a period where he was dealing with life at the same time, and life was like coming at him, and yeah, it got it. Boy, look, gotta thump upside your head.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, and he did that, and he had to sit down. But while he was sitting down, I was like, what are we doing? What's the next move? Because he has I don't know. Not that I got a problem, but I don't give up that easy. Like I always, if I'm gonna shoot the ball, I'm gonna shoot the ball. And if I miss, I ain't win the ball again. You know what I'm saying? Because who shoots to miss?
Yes.
Nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I meant to hit that. So it really wasn't too much where I'm like, I'm discouraged, but I do find myself the motivation, not the discouragement, but the motivation in it. As you get older and you get family and stuff, time management become important because my child, look, now 24 hours in a day, life, I'm a partner. Like, hold on, I only got an hour to study. I'm studying from this to that, like, all right, time over. Now I got to go spend some time and go to sleep and wake up, So um, I kind of avoid the discouragement stuff, but I do sometimes the motivation stuff. It's like you got to be motivated. It's hard sometimes to be consistent with the motivation.
And where do you get motivation? I hear you talking about God a lot. I have a relationship with God. Like, are you getting that motivation from God? Or so Yamen, when Yamen is sometimes feeling like he's lacking motivation, where do you go?
The drive of where I want to go, where I want to be, and where I come from, because I know I don't. Sometimes people, I don't know, people run into me and don't realize where I really come from. And sometimes I think about more. I know now. Not sometimes I think about it. No, I always know what my upbringing was like. I was like, man, if only people knew. West side of St. Louis, like the stuff, my dysfunctional family, all that stuff. Like I'm, I'm not supposed to be where I am. By statistics. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's confusing the way I talk and stuff like that's where it come from. I dig deep where I was like, man, I got to keep going because the thing is, I want to be a CEO of my family. I was one of the first or the first to graduate from college.
Okay.
My immediate family and stuff like that. So it's like I knew that somebody was always looking at me. I have a nephew. I even got cousins that's close to my age that I knew that they looking at me or looking up to me. Because when I speak, they listen. Even though they might have something slick to say, I already know the role that I play. So it's kind of like that's why I dig deep from inside. Like I gotta go for real.
So it sounds like you got a lot of people dependent on you. I hear that when you speak, it's just, and I can feel it. I can feel like I know I come from dysfunction. I know where I got to push myself. And as you said, like I'll be graduating in next May with my, bachelor's, and not a lot of people in my family can say that. And so I know I have a lot of people, looking to me, and I need the answers. Like when they look for me, like I gotta be able to give them the answer and kind of point them in the right direction, like you're doing for your nephew. And like you say, you're working with your sister. Like I applaud that. Like you keeping it in the family, and you're thinking about your son, and you're getting him prepared and getting him set up, and I appreciate that. And so you moved from the U.S. to the Australia. Like I said, it's like 10 a.m. my time, and it's like 1 a.m. your time on Sunday. And so tell us a little bit, about the differences in culture. What has surprised you the most?
Well, I don't want to get too political, but the culture is kind of, people ask, do I like it here? I'm like, it's kind of a yes and no. You know what I mean? Because life here is different. It's comfortable. The government play a different role in your life. A little bit too much government, if you ask me. I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's quite an adjustment. I did see a lot of good qualities when they tend to um, honor or lean or honor family time more. You see women get more maternity leave. When they both work, fathers can get maternity leave also. Little stuff like that. You hear different certain commercials on the radio where talk about domestic violence, or they talk about kind of. One time I remember when I first got here, and I heard him talking about yelling at the spouse or something. Like it was something that not the quoting it. I was like, whoa, they said it on the radio, and I'm thinking like, man, if we could hear something like that in America, I think that'll be kind of have a good impact.
Yeah.
It's quite an adjustment, but it's a little different because even in business, how we are, it's weird, but it felt weird because of how we operate. But how the customer's always right? And people can say something to the employee like, so some people go off and everything, right? But the customer's always right. But over here, they got signs on the wall that tell you the customer's not always right.
Okay.
Like it don't say the customers aren't always right, but it say no, don't yell at the workers, pretty much.
Wow.
And it's surprising to me because when they mess up our order, we say, the restaurant, like, I didn't order that, or we tried to order something, it wasn't like, it's not good. Can you take that back? They look at you like, no, you bought it. Notice how they looking at you. Like, we looking like, no, but can I order something else? Like, or you return something, they like, you gotta, can I return this? They looking at you like they, maybe because they got it from overseas or something. I don't know. But it's just weird because it's definitely a different culture, different talk, different slang. They use different words. They spell different words. They spell words differently.
And you picked up some are you talking like them, or you still got that St. Louis?
No, I refuse.
Okay.
I refuse to talk with that twang over here, because they people's reaction to an American over here is pleasant because they always like, wow, you're American. It's like you sound like the movies. It's like it's weird. It's like you're kind of a celebrity, but you ain't. But it's like I don't know. I always tell my friends when I get around a group of people that don't realize I'm American, and when I get to talking in group setting, party or something, and it's gonna remind me of the movie Life with Martin and Eddie Murphy. And when they was asleep in the cabin, they was like, "Hey, Clyde, tell them about that boom boom room." So every time they ask me stuff like, is it like this in America? Or what about this? And I'm like, let me tell you about that boom boom room. And I tell them about it, and it can be a lot of positive things, but it's a pretty cool adjustment. Yeah, man. They said they spelled tire. On the wheel on the car, they spelled tire with a Y, Tyre, organized with an S. And I'm like, oh, organized with organized with an S
instead of a Z. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. I was like, whoa. And that was backwards. Then one person told me, like, have you ever thought about America's backwards? I was like, I don't know. Yeah.
So you feel like they're friendlier? I know, like, okay, speaking for St. Louis, sometimes like do random people just speak to you? Are they welcoming, or are they like cold, like for as like friendliness?
They're welcome. They're welcoming. A lot of them, good. They be like, what they say? How you go? Or something about how you go? I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. What are you talking about? I mean, how you doing? I'm doing good,
Yeah.
But how you go? Or it's some funny stuff. Like we own a grocery store, and this is beer in there that we always like. It was every time a person come in, it was multiple customers. I'm like, hey, how do you say this? So the beer is called Carlton Drought. DRAUGHT. They be like, Carlton Draft. I'd be like, no, it's drought. I'd be like, draft. I'm like, no, see, DRAFT is draft. They'd be like, no, that's draft. I'm like, all right, so how do you say, if I taught you something, how would you spell it? TA. I see what you're saying. I see what you're writing.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Do you have any Americans over there? Besides you, have you run into a lot of Americans?
When they come into our shop, when our clerk, our cashier, he's like, oh wait, you got a fellow countryman. It's been a few of them that have come to the shop. They're American, where they moved over here and they lived here longer than me. I've been here about 3 years now. They 15 years, and one guy from Jersey, one guy from one woman from Boston, I believe. Yeah, it was a few of them. Yeah, it's a few Americans over here, but another one contrast is I'm not a color over here. Like we are nationalities.
Yeah.
It's kind of different, it's like American, Greek, Asian. And you go back in America, you're like, I'm black.
Yeah.
Like, kind of put things in perspective. Be like, oh, I'm Asian, I'm Greek, I'm Portuguese, I'm Sudani, I'm black.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. I kind of picked it up from my Indian friend. I was telling you that they don't look at black and white. They were like, you're an American? Like, all you Americans are stupid. No, it's like they all group us together. It's not like you're black or white. I see your complexion, but I'm like, you're all Americans. So speaking of, like the culture and things like that. So let's talk about like yourself. Like, what has Yamen learned about, himself since taking that leap? Like, you moved far away. You talk about your sister, you talk about your nephew, and I'm sure you're missing them like a lot. Like, what have you learned about yourself since moving so far away from the west side of St. Louis and everything that you know?
It's hard being away, because it's definitely difficult. I went back last January and visited for about 3 weeks. But we were planning to go back in April, but of course COVID came in, or the virus from China came in and shut down everything. But yeah, I've got a lot of reserve strength, I guess. It's the main thing. I don't know about a lot of other people, but when they pray and ask for something, I don't know about you, but just how I do it. Like sometimes you feeling like you want to do stuff on your own a lot, and you don't want to. One, you think God too busy, and you gotta like leave a voicemail, but you don't bother him for real. Like, man, I'll just leave a voicemail. I know you're gonna get back to it. But one thing I pray the most for is strength. Because life can be heavy. Uh, difficulties. One of the things that I pray or I dread the most is every morning I wake up and I grab my phone. I just pray that I don't have the missed calls or messages that's saying something that's just inevitable and something that I can't. I don't really want to stomach because I'm not there. Which I had unfortunately had the experience of losing my cousin a few weeks ago.
Sorry
I
about
couldn't be
that.
there. Good. And I had to do a Zoom for his funeral, literally.
Man.
And yeah, that's the biggest thing is I learned a lot about how much of that strength that I have reserved. And I've been praying and I guess saving all this time. Man, I'm stronger than I thought because I know I deliver some strength to a lot of my friends back home that I talk to. They be going through things, and and being I didn't think I would ever be this, other than like, people be locked up and stuff. I feel like I'm like lying up in jail in my life, but I feel like I'm doing a bid. It's like, man, this is so I feel like you really don't see your family. Like, this is crazy. Like I get to see them, but the touch and, stuff like that. And my dad and my mom always tell me they miss me. They're like, when you coming home and all that? I'm like, oh, I'm coming. Hold on. Let this government get their mind together so we can bounce. But that's the biggest thing I learned about myself.
It's how strong you are.
Yeah, and how to apply it, because people pray for strength. People notice how sometimes people pray for strength and then they don't use it, or they be like, or they say stuff like that. You know what? If I can't control it, I ain't gonna worry about it. Then you look up and they worrying about it. I'm like, I thought you said you weren't gonna worry about it. Like, it's a skill involved in it. Like, you really, I don't know. That's what I learned. A lot of.
So do you feel like when you pray for strength, was it automatically tested with your cousin? I said sorry to hear about your cousin. Did that test your strength when that happened?
Yes and no, for sure. Yeah, yes, yeah. But you always gonna be tested. Yeah, That was one of the tests. That was the closest cousin. That was my first cousin I ever met in my life. He actually on both sides of my family. So it's weird because he told the story, but his father was my cousin. Actually, basically my dad and his nephew mess with the.
Wow.
She got a sister. She got a sister? Yeah, type it, so
Yeah.
that's what that was. So yeah, that tested it. And it was hard. It was hard the first few days, but yeah, I got a weird confirmation though. Well, it was weird. It was just we acknowledged it immediately. Me, I was on the phone with my sister. I'm in my son diaper room. Well, now he potty training, so he ain't doing diapers too much. So yes, but I was changing his diaper, and it kind of eased my heart because I was changing. I was on the phone with my sister, and my grandmother name is Rosie, and my cousin he was locked up when she passed away, so he was always kind of upset about that. But he ended up passing away a week before her birthday. And then my son was just playing with his little car. He loved cars. Then he started saying Rosie, Rosie, Rosie. I'm on the phone with my sister, and she's like, "What are you saying?" I was like, "Bro, I'm like, KJ, what are you talking about?" It's like Rosie. Oh, okay. So to me, I was like, that was basically my grandma saying I got Marty, my cousin named Marty.
Wow.
Like I got him. I was like, man. So um, it tested, but then all of a sudden, it kind of like, yeah, the test was over really. I mean, because the strength was
And
there.
I, and I feel like God knows exactly what we need. He knows how to like soothe our heart and our pains, and He knew you needed that. And like I feel like people say out of the mouth of babes, but sometimes kids just I love being around kids because they're so innocent, so precious, and sometimes they say sometimes they say things and it makes you like look like dog like this child can encourage you more than an adult and they don't even know what they're saying and I'm like that's amazing that he said that and I'm glad that
Yeah,
you found comfort in
it was
him
a,
saying go ahead I'm sorry.
it's the age of the Aquarius, so that's how I kind of tap in, vibration, spiritual. But people, if you put this in perspective, he just got here, so he more closer to where we, in my opinion, we go back to
Yeah.
than I am, right? So when he first was born, I looked him in his eyes. He was the first when he first opened his eyes, he seen me. So I was like, "Where did you come from?" That's what I asked him, like for real. And because I remember he was a little tadpole, like literally shaking, and we done made a whole human. so, so yeah, he more closer to where we come from, the source, and than us. We further away, and
I'm glad you said that. I've never thought about it like that, and then
the
maybe
age of the
that's why.
Aquarius.
Yeah, that's why kids are so pure because they're closer to the source, and where we're trying to. Man, like
Full
you just
circle.
me like I don't even I don't even know like what to say after that. But it's like, man, that's amazing. So and so no. So back to Australia. Like, so if you had to make this decision all over again, would you still choose to move to Australia, or is there anything you would have done differently?
No. Because although we moved here, they took me. Well, not say they took me. No, I went kicking and screaming because uh, my lady. The reason why we're here, let me tell you about that a little bit. Because my lady, she's born in Vietnam. She was raised here in Australia, and she left here when she was like 13. So the reason why we moved here because one, we got pregnant, and so it made make better sense for healthcare situation because they got universal healthcare
Okay.
instead of us paying the deductibles and stuff to buy stuff. We moved over here. It's kind of a chess move. She's already a citizen, but also her father's getting older. Can't really help him out and take care of him and stuff like that, and help him retire. But yeah, I didn't really want to come here, because I remember the day definitively when I left the last career again. I was working at Enterprise. I remember I had a Facebook job opportunity that I was taking. I was talking in the back of the building. Bird, can we curse?
Nah.
Boo booed on my head.
Okay.
so so what I'm learning about that means like a good sign of good luck. Apparently, I was like, while I'm on the phone taking the
I ain't
job.
know
So
that.
and I got my real estate license too. So I really didn't want to leave. I was like, man, I'm about to step into something, but it was kind of a chess move, and it was the best move, for us at the time. I mean, we could have handled it there, but the father, he's been loving the fact that we've been here with him and kind of being around his daughter more, and it's good for her and stuff too. So I really didn't want to go, so no, I wouldn't make the decision again. I wish Australia was closer. If Australia was closer, oh yeah, it'd be perfect. But this one, like, way, I'm literally on the other side of the earth.
How
Like,
long was the flight?
it was a 15-hour nonstop flight from LA to Sydney, or
Okay.
to Melbourne, actually. And yeah, talk about 4 movies in the air, sleep, wake up, you still flying. Like,
How many times have you been back and forth since moving?
just once.
Just
Uh,
once.
yeah, just once. And we traveled to Thailand since we've been here. Went there and went up to a few islands. It was beautiful in Thailand. That was pretty cool. But no, I wouldn't. Mm-mm. Uh, I'm cool. I'd rather be in America.
So maybe one day, one day you'll be back.
Oh yeah, it's happening. I just we got a credit. Flight was already booked. Yeah, it's about time. We probably coming back sooner than later. So try to probably surprise my parents. So it'd be cool.
Has your son picked up the accent?
Yes,
Okay.
this little dude. I be like, it look the way he be like, he love cars. He be like, car, car, car. And I'll be like, KJ, no, car. He be like, car. No, like, car. He be like, car. He be like, yeah, yeah. He be like, what do he be saying? You press the button, yeah? Press the button, yeah? Because they say a lot of. And I joke about it. And then when people, like, they ask you for it, and they say, yeah. I'm like, you want to give me a chance to answer? Or you want to answer for me? When he said, do you want it? Yeah. I'm like, no. Give me a chance. But, yeah, he picked it up. Yeah, he picked it up because he'd be around Aussies,
Okay.
daycare and stuff.
All right. Speaking of fatherhood, I like to highlight, fathers, specifically Black fathers, because I feel like, and I'm a woman, but I feel like it's one of the best jobs out there. Like being a father is just great. And so, what did your father teach you about being a father?
To be there, no matter what. I mean, humans aren't perfect. My father wasn't perfect, but one thing I know, I understood. I'm like, man, I realized what I was witnessing when I was growing up. I was like, he was an adult. I understand adulthood, and I realized that he done everything, and he's still doing to be there. And I know he loved my mama dearly, and for sure, So that's the biggest thing that he taught me. He didn't have that. We didn't have, you see on TV, have them fathers sit down and talk to your son. Now, he did talk. I remember my sister used to always have to sit there and talk, and I remember her being older, and we had to sit there, and your parents talk, and he'd be like, I love you, and all that stuff, doing all them talking. I'd be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And eventually my sister was old enough to get up and say, yeah, and she was able to leave, but I still have to sit there. But I remember when I got old enough, I was like, yeah, yeah, I understand that, and I was able to get up and leave. But yeah, that's the biggest thing he taught me was just be there and just try your best. And he's always been nice to everyone around, always trying to do for others, and try to encourage, educate. That's where a lot of my uh, speaking my mind come from. From him. Definitely gonna hear what he has to say. I sit back and watched him, and a lot of probably kids sit back and watch and be like, I can't wait till I get grown. So, but when I got grown, like now, I'm so uh, protective of my adulthood that people, I'll be like, man, you can't tell me nothing. I waited too long to be grown.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you, like I don't want nothing.
Yeah.
Gotta remind people, like, hey, I'm grown.
Yeah. So have you always wanted to be a father, or is this something that just like kind of came, or
Yeah, for sure. But if I definitely want to be a father, actually, it's funny you say that because this is September. This is a month where I may be making another one. So,
Okay.
hey, I might put
Okay.
a bun in the oven, get the math and stuff and talk about actual Planned Parenthood. It's kind of like, because you know that you're making a human. It just feels like you kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. Like, I'm about to really shoot myself in the foot. Like, I know what I'm about to do. I mean, the pregnancy life, I mean, dealing with a woman when she's pregnant, it's like all that. I'm like, man, I'm about to, but it ain't really about me and about her. It's about my son. because I want him to have a sibling. I don't want him to be, growing up and then just ain't got nobody but him. You know what I'm saying? And everything we doing for him and everything's gonna come his way. Like for him to have to bear all of that on his own. But yeah, I always want to be a father. But I just made sure that I didn't. Made sure I made it through the jungle. I made sure I made it through the jungle. So I had my first child. So I was like 34. Yeah, so that was a big deal. I was like, yeah, that's one of the things. Mhm.
So what have you learned about yourself since becoming a father? So like the shock, like you said, this is a whole human coming out, and like you're responsible for the human. You're responsible, for him and up until however old he is, and so what have you learned about yourself that you didn't know from the first day that he was born?
What have I learned about myself? Um, Patience is a talent, maybe a virtue, but no, it takes practice. Because I do have to catch myself and realize, like, yeah, hold on, you don't really know. So but I be talking to him like he got all the sense in the world, but I just know that he don't, because he's still gathering his sense. Um, but yeah, that's one of the things I learned. I'm like, man, I gotta be patient because I'm not. I am, but I'm not too patient with adults. Um, because it's like, some people, adults are, like what's understood ain't got to be explained.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you know how adults are, and sometimes you tend to not have too much patience with people that you expect them to understand, especially when they say they understand or they act like they understand. So that's why, yeah, patience is a talent. And, biggest lesson. Oh yeah, also another thing, the lesson I learned was I was more prepared than I thought.
Okay. Yeah,
Because
talk about that. Talk about that.
well, my sister got pregnant early when she was younger. She got pregnant at 15, so she got me at 16. So it made me an uncle early. I was an uncle. I was like 11 years old when I was an uncle.
Okay.
So now I got two nephews. One's 24 and one's about to be 14. So I helped out a little bit, not that I too much, I don't want to take away from my sister like she handled her business. But yeah, preparing me for like a lot of stuff that I was handling with my son. It just seemed so natural.
Okay.
I wasn't uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you gotta hold the head or it was like it was just natural because I'm like, oh yeah, I've done this before. It was kind of, it was pretty interesting. Like my lady, she didn't get the same experience, stuff like that. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. Adjusted pretty well. Did really well. Yeah, I remember him. I'm gonna tell him about himself. Ooh, I can't wait. Yeah, he boo boo in my hand one time. We was
Oh man.
taking some pictures. Like when he, we were 1 year old, and he just pooed it, and then all of a sudden it was just like I was like, really?
Ah.
I had hold his little butt over the toilet like, yeah.
You were official then, like he broke you in.
That's
He broke you
exactly what
in. Yeah.
she said. My lady was like, "Yeah, you official like a whistle now. You official." What he said? Official like a referee with a whistle.
And this is off topic a little bit, but I hear how you speak about your sister, and she's older than you, right? Yeah, and so tell me a little bit. And this is off topic, but I just sensed it in your voice, like the relationship that you all have. Can you tell me a little bit about that relationship with your sister?
Oh,
Like,
that's
what
my
does she
best friend.
mean to you? Like, go ahead.
That's my best friend. Like for real, we talk every day. Unless I'm mad at her or she mad at me. But no, that's rare because even then we still talk. But yeah, she played a big role in my life. Because with the upbringing we had some hard times, and she was the one that kind of when we were our parents wasn't doing too well. My mother was sick. My father was drugs and all that stuff. And the household wasn't just what it was at first. We got to a bad place. She was the one that was like, all right, come on, let's go. We gotta go. Grandma's house. She picked me up and come on, let's go, and make sure I ate some food, make sure I ate and stuff like that until my parents were able to come over. able to get our life in order. But yeah, she played a huge role, motivating. Really, and I know what I mean to her too, because she's been through things, and we pulled each other through times, and yeah, that's why I talk about it a lot, because that's my best friend. We talk every day, you know. Yeah.
And that's real. That's real. I can feel it. That's why I said I have to ask a question about your sister. Shout out to your sister. I don't know your sister, but she sounds like she's an amazing person. And so, like, back to your son. What are some of the values that you want to instill into your son so that he is confident in who he is? Like, how are you building his confidence?
I just said something to him today. Like I said, I know he ain't got all the sense yet, but I literally said something today. So I noticed even in the political spectrum and all these conversations, everybody got opinions about stuff. And one of the things I said today, literally, like, KJ, make sure you stand for something. Like, don't just, what I'm saying? Don't just go wherever the wind blow you. Like, no, if you say something, I didn't elaborate on it, but I told him to stand. But uh, if you mean something, say it. Like, no, and stand on that. Don't waver just because somebody came in, and just, especially if you are confident in what you're saying, and you don't mean no harm. You don't, but be you. So that's all. I said that to him today. He was on the bed, he was playing with the tablet, but I was saying something, having a conversation. I told him, like, KJ, make sure you stand for something, stand for something. Stand up for real. And
You
that's
feel
one
like
of the
he
things
understood it? I know he in his world, because you said like he's like almost 3.
No, no, no. But I know that his brain right now soaks up everything. So I know that I'm his superhero. He tried to do everything I do, and I'm like, man. I mean, I don't know how many fathers experience it, but like sometimes your baby, like, I don't know, my son, but he'll change the diaper or something, doing what I'm doing. He's staring at me, like, in the corner. I see him, because I'm just an observant person, and I'm like, dude staring at me, like, like he just literally just be looking at me, like, I just pay attention to my demeanor and stuff like that. But I know his little brain soaks stuff up. So as long as I can, I guess, imprint that subconscious mind of his, then I'm just gonna keep reinforcing, I'll keep repeating stuff, that I think that he should hear.
So like, where is the affirmation? Is there anything like he's saying, like you have him saying every day about himself?
No, I haven't. I'm glad you brought that up, because I can definitely try that affirmation with him. But no, not something I say to him every day, except for listen. Hey, if you listen, it's like, KJ, you're not listening. I get his attention. Make sure you listen. Even though he still break concentration. But we get there. Doing good on the body. Yeah, the body training, doing real well.
Yes.
But now he tell me stuff, like, he be killing me. He'll tell me to do something. He be like, "Good job."
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet.
That's something I say to him all the time. I'm like, "Good job, good job." Be like, "Daddy, good job."
Mm.
I'm like, "Boy, go somewhere with it."
Now listening to you, it sounds like fatherhood it has some scariness that comes to it too. Because like you said, he's looking at you like you're his whole world. And I know in the back of your head, I would think that like you don't want to let him down. Like, do you ever have thoughts of like, man, like this little dude, I mean everything to him, and like I can't let him down. Do you ever have that thought?
Definitely. I mean, it's not scary. Like, I don't deal with a lot of fear.
Okay.
Like, fear is not something that I partake in. That emotion, I rather not,
That's what's up.
because I'm not in control of everything except for what I'm in control of. And I'm big on the conversation that I have with myself, the words I use, um, stuff like that, and my mindset. Not my mind frame, because my frame changes, stuff like that, but my mindset. And that's not, what I'm afraid of. But I do think about the long lasting impact, and also just excited about seeing his personality develop, because at the end of the day, he a whole human. He gonna do him. he gonna become who he gonna be. Um, and I'll be glad when we get to this stage of him growing up where I realize that I'm like, hey, right now it's just I'm Mr. What I say, I'm Sergeant No. I'm Mr. No. Everything. No, no. And he go to his mama and he calling me because he kind of soft and sometimes he forget. I'm like, I'm Sergeant No. You know what I'm saying? But I just be looking out for him. Bump his head, I catch him. I'm like, see, I told you. He be like, oh, fall. Yeah, right. You gonna bust your head, little dude. Like once he realized that I'm cool, like that I'm cool as him. I want you to do whatever you want to do. Just stop when I say listen. That's it. That's like when I say something, you better stop. You just listen. Just do what you want to do though. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm cool, but you can't all stick a can of oil because he be trying to be slick. Nah, let do.
Okay.
Nah, for real.
Okay. All right. So at the Nice to Meet You podcast, this podcast is all about becoming the best version of yourself. And so do you, Yamen, do you feel like you are the best version of yourself? And if so, how did you get there? And if you don't feel like you were the best version of yourself, what are you doing to get there?
I don't think I'm not. No, because you always grow. I'm always, always seeking. Always, you grow every day. So I don't think I think I'm a better version of myself, but not the best. Because every day I grow and I get better and better. And a lot of times what I do is mental exercises. Like I don't know, that conversation that you have with yourself, which I learned in psychology, is called self-talk, is important. And um, I mean, there's a lot of mental exercises you do. Like even with one of the aspects or one of the lessons is like listening, like being able to effectively communicate, but also effectively listen. And also, one of the mental exercises to put you inside my brain is how to hold on to your thoughts that while you still listening to somebody. Like some people, if you notice, drop the ball when they're communicating because they got to hurry up and say it before they forget the thought. Like, I got to get it out. Like, so I've been practicing I've been doing this for a long time.
How you do that? Because I ain't mastered it. How did you figure that out?
With practicing your brain, you just have to know what you're about to say and just tuck it away. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, and just, a key word. I say the key word. I repeat a key word in my brain while I'm listening because I know that word that I say is going to trigger what I remembered that I wanted to say when you were saying it. Just like earlier when you asked the first question, you asked me a question and I was like, repeat the first half because I was still searching for that word again. And then when I found that word, I was able to remember the whole spiel I was going to say. And that goes in with the practice of speaking, saying it in your mind before you talk, But that's a lot of mental exercise. That's what I do to kind of get to the better version of myself. And, yeah, that's what I do.
Is there anything you're reading? Anything you suggest for the readers? So, and this one is an intelligent man. Like, Yamen, shouts out, thank you for being on here. And I want you to like share some of your knowledge. Like, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I don't read a lot of novels. I don't read a lot of books. I read a lot of information pertaining to what I plan on doing. Like right now, I'm a real estate agent, so I am learning how to apply some investing skills that we do in America to Australia. They're a little bit behind. They're like 10 years behind here. I ain't gonna stunt. Like, they know it too. I mean, excuse me, it is what it is. But a lot of information trickles over here. So right now I'm learning how to apply, not to be too technical, I'm trying to break down, well, how to apply hard money lending or hard money, how to use hard money, how to structure a real estate deal, but pertaining to this market, because they have different rules and different ways that they structure the contracts. Verbiage is different and stuff like that, and the numbers are different. Different standards for contingency fees and stuff like that, 5%, stuff like that when you structure a deal over here. I don't want to get too deep in it, but
No,
yeah,
it's cool.
in investing, the a lot of people don't know it. Like you don't really need money. That's what my mentor taught me too, because he investing and he taught me this technique, proprietary information actually that he taught me. But it's really about structuring a deal and building a plot or a site up to its highest potential, and then working backwards and filling in the gaps and seeing, how the deal can make sense. Because if you can put a deal together and make it make sense, make it have an exit strategy, you can present that to some private people that got the money and they'll fund your whole deal 100%. And you
Okay.
end up using their money and end up everybody wins, in commercial real estate. That's what everybody wins in commercial real estate. So that's what I'm studying right now. It's not necessarily a book, but yeah, I'm learning. I align myself for. I'm taking these courses with this company called Masslane here, and guy, hey, use my money. That's basically. And he was like, I'll show you how to put together the deals in Australia, though. So I'm like, all right, bet. Because that's what I'm learning. So not necessarily a book. I did just read some stuff on the Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Okay.
Where the term Uncle Tom came from, stuff like that. So there's a lot of confusion when it comes to this race stuff. I didn't want to get too
Okay.
political stuff tonight. I was like, let me calm down because I
I know.
get
I know. I gotta
you
ask them
know
the right questions to keep them,
just
because I
say
know. Yeah,
don't get me talk about Biden up in this, but you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
I know you
Well,
love
what's
your boy.
I understand. Well, what's one thing before I let you go? What's one thing that you want to leave with the listeners? Like something that you can encourage them. Like your story, you said how went to school and became the man you are today. What is some like values or quotes or anything that you want to leave with them?
Shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. I remember when I was like in my mid-20s, I told my own boys, like, I mean, even when it comes to health and stuff, like I told them, like, man, we used to sit around smoking, in the lab. We used to call it the lab. We used to do music and stuff. We used to sit around just sit and talk. And I was like, man, bro, I was like, we need to start watching what we eat. Like, for real. Like, cause I'm not going to be 50 something years old, slumped over. Like, can't stand up straight and stuff like that. Like, we need to focus on that. And also, the stuff that we're trying to do, I'm not going to be sitting back looking at your black butt, homeboy. I'm not going to be sitting up here talking about, man, we should have did, man, we could have, man, we should have did. Nah, bro, we finna try. That's what we finna do. We finna try, and as scary as it may be, you gotta shoot that ball. Like, cause you're gonna be walking around pump faking for life. That's not cool. You're gonna be like, you never know the shot would have went in. You know what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, who shoots to miss? Nobody. Nobody shoots to miss. Like, of course. I remember real quick. I remember I played in a basketball league. That's me when this dude said this. I was having a game. I was shooting. Everything I shot was going in. I was having a game. Now, just one game. That's all things. LeBron
Like,
stuff. I'm just saying, it's one game. I was just, hey, I was in the zone. But the referee came to my teammate, was like, I guess we was beating the team pretty bad. Ain't my fault. You know what it is. Y'all can't play. So he came to my teammate like, hey, tell him to quit hitting so much. That's what apparently he said. My teammate came to me, he was like, yeah, the ref said quit hitting so much. I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? How do I miss? Like,
right.
what? What kind of mindset is that? Like, I don't understand when I mean, who shoots to miss? Nobody. So shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. I tell you.
So it sounds like you don't the word regret is not in your vocabulary.
No, if you're gonna do it. I mean, you may, tend to sometimes what Dr. Thomas Sowell talk about, which is a pretty good black intellectual, like 80 some years old. But he talk a lot of stuff, write a lot of good stuff. But he talk about intention versus what really occurs. And the reality is like if the results are pan out now, you'll find out if it was a bad decision. But make a decision. Even not to get ourselves in great relationships. You know, when it comes to men and women, I see a lot of. When I was a player, I'm a true player.
Yeah,
But when it
stop
comes,
it. Stop. No, just playing.
that's a coincidence term. I'm a true player. Nah, but a lot of times, men, I'm writing a book on it. Men in relationships, you
Did
gotta
you say
make
you
a
writing a book? I didn't hear that.
writing a book. Yes. Don't ask me how far I'm into it, but yeah, I'm writing a book. But now I talk about this being indecisive or make a decision. Like in relationships, a lot of times men, especially in our community, a lot of times I was talking to a friend, she was like, "Oh no, why black men don't be wanting to marry?"
Yes.
Because she asked me, she was like, "What made you ask your lady to marry you? You know, was it her or was it?" I'm like, "No, I made a decision, and I'm sticking to this. You know, sticking to that stuff. Like stand on it. You know, a lot of times you run into men that are indecisive. It's too much going right. It's too many women. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and they get drunk on that. You know, it's like at some point, I mean, choose.
No,
I don't know.
I'm glad you brought that out because I had a guest, Tony, on. And he talked about how, and see if you agree with this, and then we'll close it out. Do you agree with? He said like sometimes men in their 20s they think they're missing out, and so they want to try like all these different people, and so it's like you have like the dime piece, you have like what you need right next to you, but you think you're missing out, so you searching and searching and searching, and so it's like this woman is ready, but it's like you think you're missing out. Do you would you agree with that?
I would say you don't think you're missing out. No, you will be missing out in your 20s. Like fact, no, you will be missing out. So in my 20s, no, I wasn't trying to choose nobody. You know what I'm saying? And I, I approached it strategically. I would deal with females, and I would not mislead. I would make sure I focus on what I'm saying to them. Like I ain't gonna make you confused. Like, nah, we friends, and you know, if it got too much for them to handle, then I was like, you know what, I don't think we should be. You know, because you think we, you know, sometimes you be in a relationship, and you don't even know you're in a relationship with women. And I'm
Yeah.
like, nah, I ain't even, nah, you know, so, nah, no, you not just think, no, you will lose out, you know, but if you're gonna make that decision, like really choose. You know, my lady, I dated for a year. I wasn't thinking about a relationship, and then I told her if I start feeling different, I'm gonna let you know. I literally will let you know. And I remember May of 2013, I was like, you know what? I see you in a different light. I want to learn how to love you. I'm paying attention. You know, now I'm taking notes because you know how to love, but how do you love her?
Yeah.
Like, like literally.
Facts.
Like, and the only way you're gonna learn is you have to take notes. You gotta start paying attention. You gotta put it as a priority. And men, one thing I want people to believe is like when it comes to love, like women know intimacy and stuff better than us because they just more they're walking hormones like what I call it. But it's natural. It's all good. That's a role that y'all play. But when it comes to love for men, we don't just slip and fall into stuff. Like no, we're logical. We gotta make a decision. You gotta be purposeful. Like we gotta really like choose to love and stand on it.
Oh.
You know, so men, yeah, and it gotta be willing to be vulnerable. You know, vulnerability is power and vulnerability. There's a TED talk on that too.
Yeah,
Power.
Brene, you know Brene Brown?
Don't know the name, but
Okay.
we probably did. You see that TED talk where she talked about the power of vulnerability?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
learning. I'm learning about vulnerability doing this podcast. All of that, all the things that I share is being vulnerable because we think that it's weakness, but actually it's strength and vulnerability and being able to kind of let your guards down. And it's so she said that being vulnerable is when real relationships happen. And you speaking about your lady and you deciding to, make that step, like that was a sign of vulnerability. And so you could have
yeah,
been wrong. Like you said, you decide. And so we have to live with our decisions. The decision is just that, a decision. And we don't know the end result, but we have to have the faith that when we make a decision, we stand on it and be a person of your word. And so, Yamen, I thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me today. I don't want to leave though. I don't want to leave without you giving our listeners ways to keep in contact with you and letting us know anything you have coming up that we need to be on the lookout for, or how can they purchase, apparel from your business. Just let us know how we can keep in contact and what you have coming up.
well, with my social media tags, I don't go too in depth with things because some things are too heavy. I don't get a chance because, fly by media, social media. But on Instagram, I have two accounts. One of them is YAJ Enterprises LLC. That's YAJ Enterprises LLC. Then the other one is Blackstone Music Group. Just spelled out just like that. And our website is www.earlybirdz.com. So look out for new designs. Way it's pretty exclusive, so you won't catch a whole bunch of stuff. But when we come with designs, it usually has a purpose, and it comes out and usually gone. Sells out pretty well. But yeah, that's what you can catch me at. I will have some other websites popping up, but yeah, women line on the way too. Called Dessert.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to leave all of his contact information in the description of the episode. And so, again, I want to thank you. Thank you for sitting down. And all right.
Thanks for inviting me.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks for accepting me, inviting me, and letting me sit down on your podcast. Pretty cool. I was like, oh, look at Lynette. You should do the thing. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to do the thing. And I appreciate it. And so, and you all know out there, guests, that I can't leave you all without quoting my favorite scripture, which is found in Jeremiah 29:11. It goes like this: "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, and I will bring you to your expected end." God's going to bring us to our expected end. So go out there this week and continue to be amazing and continue to be great. And I'll talk to you all next week. Nice to meet you. Let's go.